Hi, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to Three Los International, your favorite podcast show fan page covering all things Olympiacos in English. I'm joined tonight by my two favorite hosts, Martial from France and Costa from Belgium. Welcome, my friends.
What's happening?
How's everyone doing? Martial, you look down, but not out.
No, I'm not down. It's surprisingly too positive, I would say. I was struggling to find one negative thing to say tonight.
I know one thing you're going to moan about tonight. Why did we sub off a defender again yesterday?
Yes.
Waiting for Martial to moan about that.
The answer is the 5 subs rule, always.
It always comes back to that every time.
Also, it's kind of crazy. Like Costulas has more goals than Ioannidis this season. How does that make you feel, Martial, after saying he's going to get a big signing in the summer?
It's what happened in football when you don't take the money, obviously, especially when you're a great club. We know that at Olympiacos with like so many players, Azer, Madi, Cisse. I don't recall the amount of offers we've declined for players, and the thing is, Ioannidis was struggling with like muscle injuries, and we know that the fact that makes El Kabi looks that good is the fact that a part of scoring. How many games did the guy miss due to injuries? Like, it's there since August 2023.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Whoever's listening, just knock on wood and cross your fingers.
No, but look at in Bucharest, he was almost playing injured, and yesterday, at a moment, I thought he was going to be injured in his knee, and the guy is super solid. And
yeah,
that's another thing I wanted to say.
14 games in the league, 11 goals, 2 assists. It's pretty remarkable.
It was the injury we could not afford, I think.
Yeah. So, shall we get into it, guys? So, Olympiacos comes out Saturday, early morning kickoff game against Volos, one of the like fake Greek clubs, I guess, or they're real. I don't know. They're not really a real club, but they come out. We see a little bit of a stronger 11, I'd say, like from midweek. So from the cup game, we see Tolakis in goal, Costinha getting the start over Rodinei, Retsos, Pirola, Ortega. That's, I guess, our strongest back 5 at the moment, given the injury to Carmo. In the midfield, we see this midfield that's played quite a bit recently, Dani Garcia and Mousakitis. And then moving forward, we saw Chiquinho again on the wing, Costulas and El Kabi up top with Willian on the other side. First thoughts, Martial, what did you think about the game? Like, overall, it was just, it was like just such an easy afternoon, I would say. It was just a very odd feeling because it was just, there was no stress. So
the game like that is the one that should have been the game against Olympiacos and Olympiacos at home. I mean, you score one before the first 5 minutes, and like we basically did not play it for half an hour during the first half because we did not needed to, and it was kind of boring, I would say. But at some point, we needed this kind of game before Europe. Like, we needed the 3 points. We needed Willian to have a solid game. We probably needed El Kabi to score because he hasn't scored in Bucharest, and I think he hasn't scored in Crete, if I'm not mistaken. So it was good for him to find back the rhythm. And that's it, man. Avoid injury, take the 3 points. Pirola becoming a pain in the ass, I would say, for Mendilibar along to Carmo, and Costinha proving that he's going to be the main right back for the rest of the season. Now, those games have no real matter a part of the win, of course, but some players can use it to prove some things. And I think Mendilibar finally have a squad with, like, I would say 85-90% of players that could play anytime.
Yeah, it feels like the team is getting more comfortable together, playing together, much more fluid, fast-paced football than what we saw, I guess, at the beginning of the season. Dani Garcia, I think, is someone who's been criticized a lot by Olympiacos fans and by us here on the pod. I think he looks really good. He's been a really valuable addition to the team. And I think the biggest factor he brings is he brings stability. It's almost like Ibora, like he's strong tackling the ball. He's strong positionally. He sits back. Ari always whines that he's not very good in the press, but Ibora was not a player who's good in the press. It's not the role of that player to be good on the press. So I think the rise up of Dani Garcia, and I think the manager, we put out a video, commented on the level of Garcia and Willian as such experienced professionals as well. He mentioned that they were, always working hard in training, caring about the team, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's super exciting, that development. And Heze has really taken a back seat the past few weeks. I feel I'm kind of keen to see what he does on Thursday in the European game. Is he going to continue with Garcia, Mouzakitis, and Chiquinho instead of this sort of going back to Heze? I think Heze, we've talked about it, Marcial. I think we've all talked about it. The midfield mix of like Heze, Chiquinho, and Mouzakitis is just not. It's just a bit too soft, in my opinion. It's a bit too. There's not enough shape in the midfield with those three in it. So that's been a great development. And we're also starting to see Kostulas, I think, get more comfortable in the team, scoring. Fingers crossed he starts scoring a few more goals. His efforts appreciated. Costa, anything from you to start?
Yeah, no, I mean, we can talk about the Twente game that's coming up soon. Before we do, just big shout out to all the Olympiacos fans that are tuning into the show, wherever you are around the world. Welcome. Drop your comments in the comment section. Help us to keep going. Obviously, yeah, the game itself was maybe one of those boring Greek Super League games at times, kind of sitting on the couch and doing other stuff at the same time while the game is on. But, third minute, there's a cross into the box from Castilla, there's a mistake, and then, El Kabi's crashing the goal, and it's 1-0 all of a sudden, just out of nothing, and you're like, okay, that's good, Right after kickoff, 1-0 up. And, you saw maybe a few different things, I dare say. I see our good friend, Mr. Gavalas, as positive as usual, asking if we liked our offensive game. Well, as I said, the game itself was rather boring most of the time, but we saw some different things. If you look at the two goals that we scored, or the second one in particular, it's through the middle. It's not the typical kind of, okay, let's get the ball out to the wings, cross it in, and hope somebody gets a foot or a head or something on it and we score. It literally started from, I think, Dani Garcia with the ball just behind the halfway line into Mouzakitis, like a forward pass, and then another through pass from Mouzakitis into Willian, and then a Willian's pass into Kostulas, shifted the ball from one side to the other, and then, snapshotted it in, and it's 2-0. And that was something we haven't really become used to in it, like in any of our play this season. And then the third goal, it's wonderful. Gelson Martins coming in, first touch, great pass from behind from Retos, like 35 yard pass, and he just with one touch sends it into the back of the net, calm as you like. I don't even know why the linesman lifts his flag up. It's like more than half a meter onside. Anyway, business is done, 3-0. It wasn't the prettiest performance, but it's the kind of performance that we haven't really been seeing. That professional, cynical Olympiacos plays against the lower team and just finishes the job. like calm and easy, and you're not really stressed. Like done, 3-0. So job done. And just to add to what you said, Labro, about those two players, Willian and Dani Garcia, there's that reel we put up on socials today from Mendilibar's press conference, and he mentioned their experience, and the key word was like intelligence. So, those players, he said, there's a reason why they've played at the top level for so many years. There's a reason for their longevity, and it has to do with their intelligence on the field. So, it's starting to become more appreciated, I think, from the fan base. And like you said, we've been quite critical of both of those players, but we're starting to see things. And I think more and more the coach is getting more accustomed to the squad that he has, and it's looking better and better so far. Week on week, we're top of the table. We haven't slipped up, and long may it continue.
The season is long anyway, so it's basically what we've said. Of course, it's easier to say it now that Willian is starting to playing back-to-back games, and that Dani Garcia is becoming quite interesting. But it's football, basically. It's football because the league, the Greek league, allows us to give some time to some players to settle in the club, the league, the group, the locker room. And that's those stuff. And the only frustration I would have is that the lineup we've seen yesterday probably could have been the one that started the season. Because if you take aside Willian that came late and Dani Garcia that was basically out of form because of this early injury he got during the preseason, we had Solakis, we had Costinha, we had Retsos, but Biancon could have played when Retsos was injured. Pirola was there, Ortega, Musakitis, Hesse could have been the one along to Musakitis, and then you had Gelson, Kostulas, a winger that could have been probably Masuras before his injury, and El Kabi. And I'm not sure we could have dropped so many points with that lineup. But at least the good thing with Mendilibar that is he knows how to change things when it's needed. It took probably a little bit too much time for this, but as you say, Costa is getting used to his team, and we've mentioned Eze before. I think Eze will have to not fight back, but he will have to improve what he's done since the beginning of the season to get back into the team, because we know that Dani Garcia is Mendy's guy. We've said it before on the show when he was playing bad and keep playing. We've said that is Mendy's guy, so he's not getting out of the team. To me, competition will be between Heze and Musakitis probably.
I mean, look at the stats from yesterday's game. Like 73% possession. Look at how many zeros there are on the other side. It's like 0 shots on target, 0 big scoring chances, 0. Yeah, 0 shots. Complete domination yesterday. That's what we expect to see more of at home against these kinds of teams. And we're playing Galicia next. That's going to be away from home. I feel like they've kind of been complicated, haven't they? That team for everybody, not just us. When we've played them this season, we barely beat them at home at the beginning. A 2-1 win with Yaremchuk coming in and scoring that goal towards the end. And then we've got Lamia at home, but this is more what we want to be seeing. Honestly, like when we're playing the weaker opponents. But I think that's a really, that says it all. Like that stat sheet in terms of what you need to know about the game yesterday.
Yeah.
Imagine if we win Twente, Galicia, and Lamia. When you have that in consideration, given what we've heard since the summer, I know we said that the team was better than the one we had at the same time last season, but how many points? How many points more we would have if we win those 3 games? Of course, the European format is different, but winning Twente is basically means we will be at least in the knockout phase, like the playoff phase, and first of the league.
Yeah. No, these
The
are really
opportunity
important games that are coming up. I think we passed the really difficult part of the schedule with the derbies, with Ike, with PAOK, with the Rangers game, the FCSB game. And now it's sort of, it's all about continuing to get results and building form for a lot of players. Like, I think it was really great to see. I think Willian again in Crete was also very good. I think you're slowly starting to see the movement that you're used to. Even people who watch the Premier League, like the movement is very familiar because Willian has this very unique way of how he dribbles. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens and how he develops. And like Martial said, he's going to be useful regardless going into the season. You can see that as a player, he's not finished. Like he still has something to give to us, and I think that's going to be really valuable going into the season. Slowly but surely, we're building some attacking talent. We saw it as well with Gelson Martins coming back. He's just an incredible player, and Velde as well is slowly but surely building on form as well. So
I think Willian will be everything that Martial won't be for Ajax. Like those two players will have a very different season because Martial will have most likely more goal than Willian. But the game Willian had in Crete and the one he had against Volos are the one that seals the title, or at least the team that will be the first before the playoff. And the thing is, for me, it's a no-brainer because I think we paid quite good money to bring him in to Greece. And we have to stick by that choice. We've seen that last season with Jovetic, with Iborra, you mentioned that before. We paid for him already. Like we paid the signing fee, we paid the wages, like part of the wages. We have to stick with it.
Yeah.
We won't find easily a player in January that could be at the level we expected Willian to be. Like it's not possible. We most likely getting someone like Velde again. Someone for a smaller league coming off good games. I don't know.
I think he's a victim of that kind of expectation that comes with, a player of his name, and career. You look at what he's done with the Brazilian national team, a long time in the Premier League. I think there was heightened expectation when he was coming in. I'm curious, actually, just like people listening, watching in the chat, like what were you actually expecting from Willian when he came in? Were you how well do people actually know this player? It's like they know his history, where he's been, his name, but do they actually know the player, like what he brings to a football team? Because like when he was at Fulham or when he was at Chelsea, he was never really the one that you're gonna say, give the ball to Willian and Willian's gonna do something. At Chelsea, it was Hazard. Like he was playing in the same team as Eden Hazard, and he was like he was his tag team partner, almost. He was his second fiddle. He was never a first fiddle player wherever he went. Even at Fulham, like he's playing in a well-oiled machine under Marco Silva. Marco Silva's team, they know what they want when they go out on the football field, and he's a cog in that machine. And that's how I see him as a player. Now he's here, and everybody all of a sudden kind of thinks that Willian's in on this like big wage transfer, like move to Olympiacos. We're expecting him to do what Ronaldinho did at Barcelona. Well, I don't know. I'm exaggerating, but he's not that type of player. He's like, mate, you look at his performance yesterday. What do you keep from it? Okay, yeah, he's got that easy assist. Half the goal is Costulas, half is him getting the ball to him. But the crosses, some of the crossing from the left hand side, a lot of dangerous balls coming into the box, and he's starting to drive like on the dribble as well. I think he had 3 out of 4 like one-on-ones or maybe more yesterday, where he's beaten his man. And I think against Galicia as well, he's tried to do that thing where he steps over to the left, shifts the ball to the right, and tries to shoot from outside the box with a curler. We've seen him score lots of goals like that. But just again, like I think the expectation when he was coming in was wrong, and it's, you know, always heightened by Greek media, the fanfare when a player of his like stature and caliber come in. Like I think people need to you know, think about that a little bit more.
It's also it's also the same thing with Sergio Oliveira. Like when we signed him, there was a relation sort of thing of like, oh, we picked him over Andre Horta, and he begins playing, and he's not that much of an attacking player. He's more of a deep line playmaker. They're not really related to each other in the way they play whatsoever. But people have this expectation. Exactly. But people have this expectation where they're like, okay, this Portuguese guy comes from Galatasaray with like a big CV, and he's replacing Horta, supposedly, quote unquote. That's how people read into it. And they're just disappointed because they think like, oh, he's not driving the ball forward, he's not scoring goals. But when you watch Oliveira come in and play for Olympiacos, like in that second half, it's just, he's so good at just organizing the game, and his right foot is so powerful. The technique is so good. His crosses, his set pieces, his corners, just he's just like a class player. But there was this sort of thing where the expectations were set in a way that he couldn't succeed, it felt almost. So yeah, that's how I feel with certain players that we sign. We relate them more to what we expect them to be based on the players we used to have, who we think they're replacing, and then compare them to that and the narrative around them, when a lot of times they don't do that. So
you hit the nail on the head, though. It's like, it's always a question of who's he being compared to, especially after last year, like the nostalgia. It's like Danny Garcia is being compared to Iborra, but they have nothing to do with each other. Like in terms of their play styles, you know, it's apples and pears. And it's the same Sergio Oliveira, Andre Horta. It's like they have, those two players in particular, they almost have nothing to compare. Like, I mean, they're not the same at all. They do completely different things on the field. Yeah. And that's why, like, also just, that's why we've said from the beginning of the season, give it time. And, you know, time is not really or patience isn't a known commodity when we're talking about Greek football, unfortunately.
And I think the issue for Oliveira as well, like, he was kind of, Mendilibar kind of, can I say it this way, kind of fucked him in the derby against Panathinaikos by playing him in that position when Chiquinho got injured. Like, this was before I think he launched Kostoulas, right? Like, in Oaxaca, he was playing him in that like forward pressing position, and everyone was just like, he's so shit, like blah blah blah, what the. But it's like, you just put the guy in a complete position to fail. Like that, Sergio Oliveira is like not a quick player. He's not pressing. He's not. It's like, if you use him in that way, of course he's going to look like he's shit. So I think it really did him a disservice, that game against Panathinaikos, because I think he was building kind of a decent, interesting portfolio, and then it was just like he was thrown into a position that he's not comfortable in. But I think slowly, as we've seen him play deeper, you know, he's looked better ever since Kostoulas has come on, and it's kind of reduced the need that we need Chiquinho to play that second striker pressing position. It's allowed guys like Stamenic, and I think Stamenic and Oliveira, to kind of play the more deeper, natural position that they like as well. So
the thing is, you probably said it over Mendilibar, but the way he threw the signings, it was almost like he wanted to prove they could not be useful for the team, and I don't know. It's leaving me some taste of frustration, because the first part of the season we are having right now, the fact that we won those two derbies back to back, we should have had like 5-6 more points probably, without having to play better. I mean, the team needed work in August, September, and even October. But with the basis we had with El Kaabi, with I don't know, with even Costulas, I don't know how to say that, but also it comes back to Willian, and Costa said it perfectly. The expectation we had, and I admit that myself because I wasn't watching Willian that much, but is very much of a team player. He's not the William of Shakhtar anymore, like the guy that was having double, like scoring, assisting. He needed to evolve because he's playing. He's been playing in the Premier League for so many years, and you can't be playing in the Premier League for so long if you don't have like tactical background. And I think compared to someone like Podense, for example, I'm not saying Willian is better, but I think he will offer more things to the team without having to score 10 goals and giving the same amount of assists. I'm still expecting way more from Willian, of course. I'm not saying he's playing perfectly.
Yeah.
But if you put him into Mendelebar's logic, it's logical, I would say, that he's playing over Velde, given the effort he's doing for the team, defending.
The tracking back
Yeah.
he did. I remember he slid in for a tackle in our own box at the end of the game, like 75th minute or something. Yeah, I think Dimitri's is the one he's talking about, where he went back and covered for Ortega. It was pretty kind of incredible.
Same applies for Gelson, because offensively speaking, Gelson is probably one of the best player in Greece. But a part of that the tactical package is bringing to the team is very interesting. Like I don't know how to say that better, but if somehow we can have Willian and Gelson fit for like 10 games straight, both together, along to Costulas and El Kaabi, like those 4 players together is a very big upgrade for me. But
Yeah.
it needs planets to be aligned.
But also, I think you mentioned a part of Willian that I don't think we've talked at all about is like his past in Shakhtar as well. Like, you know, he had to play in like pretty shitty pitches against shitty teams, and you know, the Greek reality is that a lot of the games you're not going to be playing against like a derby, or you're going to be playing in Europe. You're going to be playing Volos or Lamia, and sometimes it's good to have a superstar player like Willian, who that is kind of how he launched his football career, was like in shitty pitches in Ukraine, you know. So it's I think having a player with that sort of experience who's played, you know, in the winter in difficult conditions. It's not like he just played football, you know, in England or in, you know, Spain, where the pitches are very good and blah 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 blah. So I think leadership of Willian is going to become quite important as we go further in, as he begins to contribute more. And he's doing things, in my opinion, to win the trust more so than like Velde, who I do rate. You know, he's not giving some of those extra things that Willian has shown. You know, it's like the tracking back, the tackles in the box that are winning his support over with fans, if that makes sense.
It's the Willian being called a tourist that was a little bit hard to swallow for me, because I mean, when you looked at him trying to run on some games he was playing in, like I've said it after Bucharest because it was visible for me when he came in. He was trying to avoid injury at every situation. He wasn't fighting in the air, wasn't fighting in the ground. It was like, running with the feet like that. I don't know what to call that in English.
On the toes, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And we probably tried to cheat on football for probably around a month when the season started. And if we had a more difficult schedule at that time, the season could have ended at that very moment, because we played like with Willian, with Velde, with unfit Willian, with Velde that was not defending enough, with Masura that got injured like when he went to the national team, with Endoy as a central defender. Like multiple mistakes were made, and obviously the biggest name became the scapegoat, and Valde too along to that the biggest. I think Valde is the biggest fee, right? Biggest fee became another scapegoat, and we just needed time. That's as simple as that.
Yeah.
I'm convinced Velde's going to come good second half of the season too. I think maybe the Willian transfer, like, that was quite last minute, messed with his head. Seen it before with other players. Thought he's just going to kind of have that and have that position, confident after preseason, and then Willian comes in. I don't know. It's still a little bit of a weird one, but with everything that we've heard from coming out of Poland about Velde, how his adjustment was at Lech Poznan, I still think there's a player there that can give us things in the second half of the season, and we haven't even scratched the surface in terms of what he can do. We saw flashes of it during the preseason, so I see the question popping up a lot of times already in the comments as well. Can't remember who it was. I think Dimitris. How many players do we need during the January transfer window? I think we all agree left back,
Andre Horta, or like some sort of creative player maybe. And then I would get rid of Doi and I'd bring in another central defender if that's what they want to do in the end. But yeah, that's my opinion. Martial?
The left back for me is needed, but is not needed over Ortega, but over Apostolopoulos.
Yeah,
I would be okay if Athanasiou comes in January to get over Apostolopoulos for like 10 games in the league, maybe one in Europe, depending on the schedule. Endoy needs to leave for me, but I don't think it needs to be replaced. And we would need someone to be playing over Basuras. He's the one that we need to replace. Like, we need a winger, but we don't need. I think we need a starting winger, or we would need someone that would fill into the gap created by both Velde not being up to expectation and Masuras being everything but a football player. Like Masuras right now, the version of Masuras we've seen over the last week is not even playing over. I don't know. It's not even playing over Jeronimo Barales for Kalamata, man. It's not playing in Super League 2.
The level is so bad with. It's
He's done mentally.
Awful.
He's done mentally.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. I think Masuras at this point is just. I think Doi and Masuras look completely mentally finished, if that makes sense. I don't know.
It pains me to see Masuras like that because I have infinite love for the guy and the player itself, but we can't really afford to have a player that can't even score sitters like that. And at some point, I know it will probably unlock it, and I hope it will unlock it before the break, the Christmas break. But I don't know. We'll need to get rid of players if we bring someone else. And we need to be careful. If the winger we bring, we need to ask ourselves two questions: is the winger way better than Bernic, and is the winger that needed over Papacanelos having playing time? That's the question I have.
But that's why I don't think we need a winger. I would go for something familiar like Andre Horta. I don't know how realistic it is to bring him in again in January, whether it's a loan with a permanent buy option in the summer or something like that. They can work it out. He's out of favor again at Braga. He's not really been playing the last few. Yeah, he's not really been playing much the last few games, and in Europe certainly not. It's almost ironic that he he had a good start to the season at Braga. I think there were quite a few, like there were 2 options in midfield that were injured too. So he was, he did have that playing time. He was playing well, and then he came to Karaiskaki and he made that mistake that led to one of the goals. And ever since then, it's kind of been a bit downhill for him. They have players returning from injury, and he's not really been playing. But my point is linked to what Marshall said. I think that we got Gelson Martins as an option on the wing. As much as we know his issues with injuries from time to time, Willian starting to finally get into, I wouldn't say form, but his fitness is going up, and we're starting to see like improvement from him. There's Velde, who, like I said before, I think he will come into his own at some point during the season. Just needs to get his head straight. And then there's Papacanelos as well. And the Masura situation, I mean, you're talking about the club captain. Can say a lot of, you can have a whole discussion about whether he should have left in the summer and the reasons behind that. But we see that almost every season from him. There's like a stretch of like a month, 2 months where you're just thinking, oh my God, it can't get any worse. And then there's stretches of like a month, 2 months where he's just smashing it, like goals every game or every other game. So I'm expecting him to turn it around. But also, I mentioned Orta in particular because he can come in and replace Chiquinho on a day where Chiquinho needs a rest. He can play in that kind of position behind the striker in the hole. We saw him playing in phases of the Europa League, the Conference League final out on the left. So like you can deploy him in the same way you play Chiquinho in a wider role. So I think that's the kind of option that I would go for because it's familiar, and I don't think you need to go on another gamble like on a winger. That's when you already have players like Willian and Velde there, and you bought them for a reason in the summer, and you've got Papacanelos waiting in the wings, who's looked pretty decent whenever we've thrown him into action. So those are my criteria. Athanasiou is an interesting option. I think if he's not, if we have signed him, if it is a done deal, then I don't see why they don't just bring him in January. He's going to come in the summer. He's going to come back, and he's probably going to end up on loan again. So
he's competing against Ramon and Leidner, I guess, for backup left back.
Doran Leidner will be back in the summer. He hasn't really been playing much.
Ramon's back in the winter, I think, as well. In January, he comes back, right, Marcial?
Yeah. No, I was going to say, I think we should take away the winter market we did last season. It happened once. It won't happen again ever. We are not getting players like Orta, Gelson, Chiquinho, Carmo on the same month. Not possible, and we don't need that anyway. What we would need probably is praying for injuries to stop, and maybe one fix being the left back, because even if I appreciate Apostolopoulos, the fact that he came out of the B team finally after like a decade playing against farmers in the B team, I appreciate the guy, but someone like Athanasiou can really turn into a new Masouras if he comes in January. Someone like Pilios for AEK, for example. Like Pilios for AEK has been one of the most consistent player, and he came from Pasianina. So there is some solution you can find in Greek markets, such as Koutris, for example, in the past. And we need to find one for the left back. Being Greek would be better because for European list. If it can be Lykoyannis, then okay, but he's not going to come back from an UCL team in January anyway. So,
is he playing at Bologna?
Yeah, he's playing in the Champions League. He's not playing every day.
Athanasiou is like a perfect option too, because if offers come for Ortega in the summer, you can still sell him even if you have qualifiers, or you know what I mean. You have a backup who is capable, and he's only 23 years old. I thought he was older. He's like 23, decent profile. Throws like,
He's peaking is picking. He is experiencing his first pick in his career.
I think it would be a good moment for him, and also then you can send Apostolopoulos to Kalamata or something. I don't know where.
The Malakias Kutris.
Yeah, but he needed to go have his career, I guess.
Yeah,
it's
no,
like on third source as well. Like
we fucked
I don't
that.
know.
We screwed the pooch on that one hard, but Apostolopoulos for me is good, like third left back option. He was great last season, man. Like whenever we like really needed him, he came in, he did a job against Ajax, against Aston Villa. Like he came in and played in some big games, man. Like he's not at all like a player that can come in and play build up, like when we're, you know, in possession dominant in these kinds of games in Greece. I think if you put him into a battle and you're like, mate, you know, you got to fight in this game, scrap, get involved, like tackles and just passion. I like his characteristics. I think he's a like decent player to have in the squad, but he's not like quality wise. He's not that
nowhere
level,
near
like,
ready to.
No.
He needs to go develop maybe abroad to learn how to play. Like
maybe he's not young anymore. By the way, like he's not young. Like I think he's 22.
Yeah. So Athanasiou is what, a year older than him and played how many games in Super League? Like right versus Apostolopoulos.
It's too bad someone like Kousidis, for example, isn't a left back. Because sorry, it's very difficult to find a left back in January. And the question I've said in the WhatsApp group is that we need to be careful about what we've been doing with what we will do with the left back in January, because as it doesn't matter what we think of Ortega, he is the starting left back, and we can't afford to replace a starting left back in January. And finding a solution that will push Ortega to be better is very difficult too, because if you look at the past, we decided to bring, I think it was only during the beginning of Tsimikas and Kutris together that the competition was working, but probably around 4 months, and then Martins decided for Tsimikas. But if you look at it, we had like Vinagre, it was shit. We had Ramon, he wasn't ready to be playing for us already. We had, on the right side, we had Dreger. We had, how many players did we sign that were supposed to be rotation, like emerging players, future solutions? Athanasiou is better than all of that.
Yeah, I agree.
For me.
These are safer bets just coming from the Greek Super League. They know the expectations. They know what they need to do.
Or maybe we're getting someone from Nottingham. Who knows?
But I also think like Martial has a point. If you look at the roster, we actually have a lot of left backs who will be around in come summer. Like you have Ramon, you have Leitner, you have Apostolopoulos. Like, do you really want to sign?
Mate, Martial pulls out some rabbits from the hat, mate. I mean, he mentioned Ivan Brinic a little earlier, and I don't know how many people in the chat actually picked that up. But
no, but the thing is, Martial's right. Like I was speaking in our group chat about this, like about the depth that Olympiacos has currently on the roster, and people are like, oh, you're full of shit. Like you know, Martin's era, we were deep, we had real good players, blah blah blah. Like that was a team that, you know, was deep and it had Fortunis or whatever. So kind of like I like going back to look at that team, you know, that we had, and it was like insane. The subs off the bench: Bruno Gaspar, Lovera, Avram at like 500 years old, Lazar, and like one other, and Benzia or something. And people were like, oh yeah, like we're like the team doesn't have quality this year, like, you know, back in the golden age, like we were so good. And it's like, yeah, our fucking bench was like Lazar Angelovic and fucking Bruno Gaspar, and people are like, that was the golden age of Olympiacos. Like, that's when we saw real ballers play. It's like, guys, we subbed on the 70th minute. We were just like, fuck it, game's over. Like, Sergio Oliveira, like, class player. Velde, who, like, for jokes, like, the depth we have is so much better this season. Like, Yaremchuk, I know everyone shits on him and thinks he sucks. The guy's the starting striker of Ukraine and, like, banging in goals at Euros, and he's our third striker. You know what I mean? Like, it's insane how much depth we have right now. I don't know if it's a byproduct of 5 subs where teams have deeper squads, maybe because you can make more substitutions. But like, Marko Stamenic had a great game. Was it in Crete or against Califea? And he's nowhere to be seen. Good. Nowhere to be seen. Like, doesn't even get a chance to come in. And it's just like the depth. As soon as these pieces start clicking, yeah.
What do you think about the Yaremchuk situation? Because we were asked about transfers, and I think one person in the chat actually mentioned, what about attacker, centre forward? First of all, just to maybe clear something up, because I've been reading a lot of BS in the press and some comments on socials about, Yaremchuk feels uncomfortable wearing a mask, and some people are like questioning his commitment because he reportedly feels uncomfortable wearing a mask. I don't know how many people have broken their nose. Like, personally, I haven't, and I hope I never do. But Santiago Heze broke his nose last year against the German team we played in the Europa League. I can't remember, Freiburg, sorry, SC Freiburg at home. He broke his nose. Do people remember how long it took him to come back and put the mask on? It was at least a couple of weeks before he got out on the field again. And this is fresh, like last Thursday, was it? He broke his nose in the game against FCSB. And people are going after him for that. It's like, seriously? It's like, I get that El Kaabi needs a backup. He needs a good backup. The question is, can this guy be the guy to replace El Kaabi when he needs a breather? I think he can be. I legit think he can be. I think that Costulas, at his age right now, he needs to be playing that position that he's been playing in as a second striker with someone next to him. I don't think he's ready yet to play the lone striker at Olympiacos. If he's playing off El Kaabi, if he's playing off Yaremchuk, that's the way we need to be playing Costulas for the rest of the season. If he's here in a year or 2 years' time, maybe he'll be like, he's going to be bigger. Like, kid's 17. He's hench already. Like, in a couple of years' time, think how much his body's going to have developed. And then maybe he's going to be able to play. That's a good comment, actually. About the two African kids from the youth team. Do we need, so it's like, again, do we need a centre forward?
I don't think so.
We have the options already, because I'm hearing about this Betancourt guy from Panathinaikos, and I'm just like, really, guys? Really?
No, we need to change the fact that when we don't have a result, it's because we hypothetically need other players. It's tempting, and we know Olympiacos' reality, because in Olympiacos, when you're struggling to get results, it's because you need new players. Yeah, we got the Conference League probably based on that reality. But also, let's not forget that if we weren't due to play the Conference League, like even Iborra and Kini and Jovetic, all of the three would have left in January. If we hadn't to do with the European list, they will all have left. And the thing is, if, for example, a Saudi offer comes from Yaremchuk, I wouldn't be mad and sad if he takes it and leave. All parts would be pleased by that. But the fact that a season is made of turning points, and the team got better, but when Yaremchuk came in against Bucharest, that was a turning point for him. it could have been the turning point, and it was a wrong turning point. Like it will lose 2 weeks, 3 weeks with a good schedule to have some games, some minutes, probably some goals, and it will be in January without being very good for the team, and the question will be there. And I agree that we don't probably need a striker, because we do have now something we did not have at the beginning of the season, which is a shape. We have a starting 11. We have more solutions, and as Labro said before, I've seen that comment before, like, oh, Olympiacos this season only have like 13, 14 players to play, like 13, 14 good players. What people do think, like other teams are similar to that. Like you have Manchester City before the crisis that had a squad of 30 players, but every team that won big things won it with like 13, 14 players. Real Madrid won the Champions League last season with a bench that wasn't that big. Like it was Joselu scoring a brace out of nowhere to qualify. Why would it be bad to see Olympiacos having like 14 good players and lacking some depth? Like, do you think? Do people think that if we sign, I don't know, let's say we sign a top striker out of nowhere and Yaremchuk leaves, do you think this guy will take minutes to play? No, because there is El Kaabi on top of him. So he will need to score out of El Kaabi minutes. I don't think it's sustainable.
Yeah, I also think, Marcia, like one thing where I understand why people want to sign an attacker is like it really feels that with Masuras as well being complete shit and like being unable to offer an option as kind of a second striker, in that sort of role, it really feels the team is limited at some point. And like with Kostulas and yesterday, Kostulas and El Kaabi playing, like we literally had no other option. And I'm personally a fan of Yaremchuk. Like I'm looking forward to seeing him play and get some minutes. It's really unfortunate about the broken nose, because this would have been like the perfect time to launch him, in my opinion, to get him some minutes. But it's the question of like, when do we want to, if we want to sign a striker, it's like, okay, so we want to sign a striker. What are we going to do? We're going to have to sell Yaremchuk. Like, are you going to find in January a better winger or better striker than Yaremchuk, who's like experienced in the Euros, experiences in Europe, offers something in the air, is like a big target man? Like, are we going to find, like, where are we going to find a striker to come in? And
I have a question. Like, do you let's say, for example, we have to have an extra solution on January the 10th. I'm 100% sure that if we take either Yusuf or Sila from the under 19, they will be more useful for the team than any striker we could sign, any one of them. And I don't really think that Sila or Yusuf could be top Super League player yet. But if we're talking about 20, 30 minutes, what we need to avoid, it's basically what PAOK did with Tsimas, for example. You have a player that might not be ready to play every game as a starter, and you say, okay, let's fuck the kid. We're gonna loan him abroad, and we're gonna rely on Chalov and Tissoudali. Both had good resume. And I agree with that, Lambert. Like, just look at the past. How many good strikers we've signed? We've signed El Arabi, then we've signed El Bakambu, then we've signed El Kaabi. But Hassan, if we're talking about second striker, Hassan was the only good one we've signed. The only good one we've signed. Otherwise, it was Masuras popping out of nowhere, both as a striker or a winger.
Yeah. And Navarro was like incredibly mediocre as well. Like, as a striker, he had some helpful moments, but like, again, I just don't know what, like, Yaremchuk, people are upset, and he's not been able to get in form, but he's also not been able to get on the field because of how good El Kabi has been, right? Like, it's just been, and he's another one of those who I think has been put in a really shitty place by Mendilibar at the start of the season. Like, when he went to Lyon and he put El Kabi and Yaremchuk together, like in the same, like those are two players who are incapable of dribbling, like are not players who can dribble the fucking ball, right? Or distribute or hold up very well. It's more like
it was like
and
seeing El Arabi and Hassan together. Like,
yeah,
it worked sometimes, but it was like when you throw them on in the 75th minute and you're looking for a goal,
it just did not work. And so I would love to see him get some more minutes, just like, you know, like the game this weekend or against Galicia, if he played 75 minutes, etc. Like, I just don't think you're going to find a better striker in January than Yaremchuk, who has so much experience. Like, that experience, I think, is going to be helpful at some point in Europe. He's going to be helpful in the league, in the derby. The guy's played all across Europe, and he struggled, yes, but I don't know. I wouldn't throw it away by any means.
I agree with the comment of Aris Pan, and it's exactly what I wanted to say about the left back. It's exactly my opinion about like 60% of the signings we've made over the last years, because Olympiacos' logic is that we need two left back. Okay, we're gonna sign one of the best left back of Argentina, for example, and one of the best left back of Eastern Europe. And we're going to say to them, you're going to be in competition to play. And if someone is better than the other, like the shittiest one is going to play 10% of the minutes. That is not competition. And Yaremchuk, and I agree with that, needs to play back-to-back games.
Yeah.
It's not possible for Olympiacos because of El Kabi. And if we need a second striker, like we are gonna need to sign someone from Eastern Europe that is scoring goals, someone that will be the equivalent of Valde in terms of profiles, like not the mental profile, but someone that is scoring goals in Poland, in Serbia, in Cyprus. I don't know those leagues, because if we do sign I don't know, profile like Mvila, you know, big names from top league that needs to find back some confidence, it's not going to work out. And I agree also with the comments you say about Miritello or even Betancourt. If we've signed Betancourt last summer, the guy would have like 5-6 goals already. I'm sure of it. Even someone like Carlitos, you know, Fat Carlitos, the former Panathinaikos player, even someone like Von Weert from AEK, you know, player that will be happy to be second striker for Olympiacos, and that's it. Even Makeda, man, you put Makeda on Olympiacos squad, he would have had more goals than Yaremchuk, because Yaremchuk has one of the biggest wage of the team, and he wants to play every game.
I can't remember if Yaremchuk was signed before or after El Kabi signed a new contract. I have a feeling it was before.
I don't remember.
I have a feeling he was signed before El Kabi's contract was confirmed.
Like, honestly, I think a better backup profile would have been like Martin Braithwaite, maybe, randomly enough.
No, you know, my top profile would have been Koulouris.
I don't know.
How's he doing in Poland this season?
I think he's over 10 goals already.
Yeah.
Amazing relationship with Koulouris on the pitch.
Braithwaite in 18 games has 8 goals and 2 assists in Brazil. I think he would have been a decent backup, like, because he's versatile as well, Braithwaite. I think he would have been.
No, but Langros, man, you can't say the Braithwaite, you're gonna sign for Olympiacos and be a backup. It's not.
No, you're right. No. You're right. Yeah. You're right.
You know, but I'm not saying that But sometimes.
But you can't say to Koulouris either, like you're gonna leave Poland and come be a fucking.
No, but the second striker of Olympiacos plays like 25 to 30 games, half of it or more or less as a starter. But you play for the title, you play Europa League, and you aim to play Champions League the next season. Your colors, you're taking it. Doesn't matter if you have to polish the El Cabisbo after every training session.
No, but I think this is the main so the main point here is do you sign a striker? Do we sign a striker? Yes or no?
No.
We are going to sign one. We know
You think
the
so?
answer.
Yeah.
I think that what changes my answer is if Yaremchuk gets sold. Then probably you're going to go out and sign a striker.
Do you think that could happen? Like we sell him, I don't know, to the Saudi league or to?
I can't see it.
I can't see it either.
I can't see it.
So then,
his body language looks a little bit dejected, but then again, we know that there's a lot going on off the field with the player as well for obvious reasons. But I just think it's a shame, man. That broken nose, I think Martial mentioned it. It just came at the wrong time. He could have played that game in the cup against Galicia, given El Kabi a bit of a rest, but it just hasn't. And sometimes it just doesn't work for some players, man. It could be a quality player, and it just either don't click, timing doesn't work. And for what it's worth, the fact that it hasn't worked out so far, it's been, it's meant that Costulas has been launched earlier as well.
Yeah.
Into the team. So, we talk about it as a negative, but something positive's kind of happened elsewhere. And yes, Tiquinho, Tiquinho, big mistake. I think I agree with that, but let's not go back too far. We're over an hour in, guys.
I think as we begin to close out, who do you guys want to see out in the window, and then what do you want to see in? Martial, what players do you think January it's time to go?
Honestly, I'm saying that
yeah.
The only player I would want to see out is Ndoye. Not that I dislike him, but I think he has value. I think he has a very promising profile, but the time for him as Olympiacos has come to an end. I don't want him to be another Androuchos, for example. He needs to leave. Middle-ranked team in Germany, Italy. I don't know.
Even in
I
Greece,
wish him the best.
A loan to Atramitors as they push for European football, would be fine.
Imagine Ndoye with Garcia as a coach.
Perfect combo.
The thing with him is that he signed a new contract on the back of a couple of good performances as a defensive midfielder. And since then, we haven't seen him play in that position at all. So it just kind of makes me question again the process and the criteria for him signing a new contract. So did you sign him on a new contract because you think you could have depth in that position as a 6, where he can be, I think, a decent squad option, more than a decent squad option, in midfield? I think if you asked every single one of us co-hosts of this show, do you like Ndoye as a centre-back? I don't think any of the 6 of us will say yes.
God, he's shit.
In the chat right now, if we were considering Ndoye as a defensive midfielder, it changes the conversation. But I'm not convinced that is how he's perceived, or that's how they think of him. So if that's the case, then I'd be fine with selling him. If he's not going to play midfield, fine. I can agree with that. Otherwise, I don't think, I look at our squad and I say, no, don't sell anyone.
Masouras, you keep?
Mate, it depends on the bid. If it's a good bid, then yeah. If it's
Apostolopoulos, you keep?
You're not going to get a bid for him, though.
Androuchos, do you keep?
Apostolopoulos is never going to leave the club, man.
Man, I hope Androuchos finds something. I don't know. I watched some segments of that interview that he gave. Like, he was emotional about his relationship with the club and all of that. But it's like, mate, you're a professional footballer. You need to like
grow up.
It's like, have some self-respect. Like, have some self-respect. Like, go and play for a club. Don't just be like that guy, you know.
I have another one. Pascalakis, do you keep? Do you try to move him on?
No, man.
Do you have?
I want to say something on that.
Does that mean you need to sign a keeper though?
I don't think so, but
wait. How can the fact that we've renewed Pascalakis for almost $1 million per year, just for him to lose his starting pot like weeks later?
Yeah.
Then we say, okay, we can't lose Masouras, fan favorite of the club, and I love the guy, man. It's probably the player I love the most as a human being. We've renewed him because we were fearing to lose him. We were fearing to lose that Masouras Costa mentioned that could turn on to be a good player.
Yeah.
We lost you, Marshall.
Yeah. Lost your mic. It died. The microphone died.
You need to charge that, baby.
Can't hear you yet.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
you're back.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying we lost money on Masouras too because we got scared of losing the guy, and then we renewed Ndoye with no plan. Like, we've renewed 3 Greek players.
Greek, yeah.
2 of them, if not 3 of them, are useless, or at least not very useful to the team. And how can that not be on top of any signing we've made? Like, on top of that bad business pile of opinions? Because the transfer period is not about who we sign only. It's about who you renew. And this club can't let go any players. Like, why Olympiacos can't let go any players? Why? Is it a matter of pride? Like, is it a meeting? Maybe if we let Masouras sign for Bochum and he had like 10 goals in the Bundesliga already, people would be crying like, hey, we should have renewed Masouras. It was so good. We lost Masouras along to Fortunis, along to Podense. Why we are so scared to lose players? I don't know. I don't understand.
It's all about having a plan for replacing them, though, isn't it? It's always,
yeah.
But I think so. Okay, so basically what I'm hearing though is like no one's leaving other than Ndoye, in your guys' opinion. Like, that's it.
If you listen to the radio, they're talking about like 3 to 5 players coming in January and then some players leaving. But like,
give the perspective, Costa, of like what people are saying on the news, like to some people who.
That's what you hear. It's like, oh, Olympiacos is going to sign 3 players minimum, and that means it's going to be more. But I'm just looking at it and I'm just like, okay, you need a left back, yes, but then
left back, Zichi replacement.
Yeah, a left back, a creative player in the midfield that can play as a 10, but also as a winger, at least in my opinion.
It's like literally Andreotta is like the perfect profile.
Exactly, but then like on the radio, they're saying, okay, the left back, the 10, and Orta, and then maybe 2 more. And I'm just like, oh God, no. Don't, like, please don't disrupt the balance, like right now when it's starting to like find itself in the squad. And don't mess things up with the youth players. Like, we haven't seen Bakulas get first team opportunities this season yet.
Yeah.
And he looked like he deserved the opportunities with his performances during the stretch in the summer and preseason. You know, I feel like we've got a good thing going. Mate, if they're, you know, I'm cautious, but that's what they're talking about. That's what they're talking about on the radio. And players coming in means players going out. And I can't see who those players are. It, like, from everything that we've been reading and listening to from the Greek press, or parts of the Greek press, over the last week, 10 days, I get the feeling that when they're thinking about departures, they're talking Velde and Willian. It's like, no. Like, you know, there was the whole Varito klima για το Velde. really?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
No, but it's also. Oh fuck! I'm having a cramp. Sorry. The thing is, any player that we could sign a part of the left back is someone that will eat playing time from Azer Papacanelos or Bakulas, or even other solutions from the under 19. So
I think
I'm not
we're in
expecting.
mid-December now. Like Bakulas
No.
in particular is like a dream. I think like people need to just like that's not happening this season. I think like 90% that's not happening this season.
Depends
So
on injuries too.
depends on injuries for sure, but it's like if it didn't happen now, it's not happening in my opinion this season.
I have to say maybe it's too early, and this will be an interesting segment to do the closer we get to Christmas. Like during the Christmas break, we can think about like best signing, like worst signing, like Christmas review type thing. But honestly, I'm looking at it. For me, I thought Danny Garcia was an absolute dud, and maybe Stamenic. But right now, my vote's leaning on Sergio Oliveira. If I'm putting him on a balance with, for example, wanting to see Bakulas, that's the one that's taking away his playing time right now for me. But I say that with some reservation.
I would not drop Sergio Oliveira. Like I saw an Instagram page, like I'm gonna go burn Earth, like this like red center bullshit. Like after FCSB, like thousands of followers on Instagram post a picture of Willian Velde and Oliveira after the games, like, you tourist, fuck off, go home. You fucking morons. Like, I literally just so unacceptable, like, how they talk about the play. Like, Oliveira comes on to play, like, again, in that advanced position because Yaremchuk breaks his nose. They included Yaremchuk in that, too. And it's like, this guy goes and almost scores the winning goal, breaks his nose, literally tries to stay on, like, blood keeps coming out, can't continue. And there's like fans of the club who are like, oh, Oliveira, fucking pack it up, Willian too. And it's just a lack of patience and this like sort of this entitlement to thinking that we should walk every game in Europe and blah, blah, blah. But Oliveira is like a very talented player. Like I and maybe I'm like a moron just like sitting there watching, but I enjoy watching Oliveira play, like because the passes that fucking guy pings, the free kicks, the technique, the corners, it's like magic every time. I don't know, maybe I'm a moron. Like I really enjoy watching him play, and I think he's really valuable, and he's going to be really valuable moving forward. So I don't know, I'd keep him personally.
I have a ready solution for the left back position.
God.
Someone that is 31, free agent,
Oh god,
born in Thessaloniki, with a good international experience.
I know.
That's
Stafilidis. Yeah. Is he still a free agent? Jesus.
Yes, it is.
Why are you on Transfer Market looking at free Greek players, Martial? Like, what are you doing right now?
Don't you know what Martial does in his free time?
I do know.
I wanted to check he was still a free agent, but he is.
All right.
Is Pirola as a left back worse than Apostolopoulos?
I think Pirola at left back is better, but also Doi is so shit at center back that I don't want to risk Pirola playing left back at all.
Mate, I'd rather be seeing Gutierrez at centre back than Doi, 100% every day. If I had the choice.
I can't take watching Doi anymore.
That boy needs playing time. That boy needs playing time. I don't know. Is Gutierrez playing in the youth league this season? He's not, is he?
I don't know.
That's actually a serious question. That's a
serious
serious
question. To be
question.
loaned.
Yeah, he needs playing time because he's got an incredible package, like physique, body, defensive traits, but like he can pass the ball out the back too. And if he's not playing youth league, if he's not playing, we need to find a way to get him playing time. Like a year lost sitting on our bench. Sometimes I think he was on the bench. What was it? Against Galicia. No, we need to do something with him. That's important. That's very important. Quick note about Thursday, but before we do, guys, been hundreds of you going through here. We have about 25, 26 likes, which I find a bit pathetic. So if you haven't done it already, do us a favor, click the like button. It costs you nothing, means everything to us, and it helps us to find more Olympiacos fans around the world. Subscribe if you're joining for the first time. Also check out our Patreon. You can join our Patreon for more exclusive content. Starting from $1 a month, you can get access to our WhatsApp group. There's quite a few people in there already. It's lots of fun, exchanging with other Olympiacos fans from all over the world. You get more kind of tidbits in there, information that we don't share on social media, for example. So you can join that for $1 a month. Check out our Patreon. More info in the description below. And for $5, you can also get exclusive content, extra interviews, and some more analysis that Ari does on the games. And there's also a $10 merchandise tier. You can go and check out our merch on our website. That's also in the description below. So thanks very much for that short message. Twente, I have a question.
Oh, God.
Last thing before I forget. Somebody mentioned Pedense stats versus Gelson Martin's stats. That's a really good shout, and we're going to look into that at the halfway point. Or we're past the halfway point this season. Let's have a look at Gelson Martin's numbers versus Pedence this time last season. I don't think we've done that. Whoever that was earlier on in the comments, we're going to check that out, and we'll post it on our socials. So keep it locked. Thursday. Do you take out Danny Garcia? And do you take out Pirola on Thursday? Labra, I'm going to start with you.
No, you don't take. I don't think you take. You don't take Pirola out. You don't take Dani Garcia out whatsoever. I think in European games, like Dani Garcia is slowly becoming Iborra-esque in that, like, he is the organizer and the sort of person who keeps everyone in formation and in shape. So I would not take him out. Eze, I think, can keep coming off the bench. He's obviously, it looks like he's lost his place. And just like everyone else, he's got to earn his place back into the team. I think that's it. I don't know.
Has Heze lost his place, Marshall?
Just before answering, I just want to give a stat about Gelson Martins. The guy has played 30 times with the club for an amount that average 18 full games, 18.3 full game, and he has 6 goals, 9 assists.
Pretty incredible.
That being said, the answer on Heze is clear to me. I've said it earlier on the show. I consider Garcia being Mendy's guy. I consider Mzaketis being the second Mendy's guy, like Mendy's son, I would say. So Heze...
More like his grandson.
Yes. Heze lost his place, but it's no big deal because when he came in against Bucharest, for example, he brought so much energy on it, and we will need him. He'll still be useful, and I would not change the team, but that's a very good question because it will indicate if Mendelebar really rewards the recent form, or if he rewards, I don't know, initial ideas he had, and especially about Carmo. I think you can't throw Carmo back into a game like that. We have Galitea away, we have Lamia at home. Those are the games in which I want to see Carmo comes back. But you can't.
I agree with that.
But I think the more important question, Costa, no offense, is he going to play Willian or is he going to play Gelson Martins on Thursday?
No, that was I was gonna say, like, how do you play on Thursday? Starting lineup, but I agree with what was said. I don't take Pirola out the team right now. I think throwing Carmo in cold after a few weeks out into a game like that on Thursday, even though, like, okay, to play devil's advocate here for a little while, we know that Dutch teams like to play pretty open. I expect quite a few goals that can be scored on Thursday, and he is better bringing the ball out the back. We know that. But
I don't even think Pirola is that bad at bringing the ball
no,
out
no,
of the
no.
back. Like, I don't get this. Like, this is like been a narrative that people are like, oh, Pirola is not. I think he's actually quite good with the ball at his feet. Like,
He's not
He's not
used
like-
to it though. He's
But
not. He's visibly not used to it. Like he's played in clubs all his life where he's been on the back foot. He's never been in a possession dominant team. Never played in a possession dominant team.
Sure.
And I agree with you. Like I think his distribution's been pretty damn good the last couple of games. You even see like some 30-yard switches to feet, and you're like, okay, like this guy's actually pretty good. Like like to your point, a lot of people are making this argument, but it's just, man, okay, we can argue. In my opinion, we can argue some things, but what we can't argue, in my opinion, is Carmo's superiority when he's got the ball at his feet in terms of like his ability to ping a pass, his ability to keep calm under pressure. But if anything, Pirola's showing that aspect of his game is already improving and can improve more. And we forget, like, Pirola's young. What is he? He's only just turned 22 recently. So enormous upside. That's a fantastic transfer. So it's looking like an amazing transfer that we made with him.
The next question, Costa, I think another question too on a transfer is like, do you play Costinha or do you play Rodinei as well for the experience?
So that's the question, because you don't know how he's going to line up, if he's going to do his thing with Rodinei out on the wings now that Willian's looking quite good and Gelson Martins is back like fit. I expect Gelson to play on Thursday. And quite frankly, the way Willian's looking, I would play him as well on Thursday if he's fit. Like if he's 100% fit, that's my question. So, okay, is Willian 100% fit to play on Thursday? Play him. And then right back for me, guys, no question, Costinha. There's no question in my mind.
Go. It's December the 8th, and I'm sure Costinha is, how to say that, is already at 85% of prime Abdelawi's level for the club.
God, that's a statement right there. My God.
He will be at 120% of El Abdelawi's level by the end of the season. That's why he's going to last only one season for Olympiacos.
You think he's gone after the season?
I can see, and I might be wrong, I've seen a lot of players in this club that were sold abroad. Costinha, given the fact that he's Portuguese, he's young, given the fact that it's a position in which you don't find that easily quality, both defensively and offensively, is destined to play in a very top club, and it's not going to wait 2 years for that. I've seen enough of him. He's already twice better than Rodinei for me. I love Rodinei. I respect the guy. He has been erased completely.
There's no question.
He's not recovering for that.
There's no question in my mind at all. So it's like everything that he brings on the pitch, from like his defensive ability, but his ability to get forward and cross the ball in, bit of everything, man. He really is like breath of fresh air on the right hand side.
It's going to be the fucking right back of Portugal.
Yeah, I was just about to say. It's like Paulo Ferreira almost on steroids. It's like the next gen version of Paulo Ferreira for those that remember him.
But I agree with Marcial. It's just like, also, Costa, you threw those stats up from the game. Can you like change that team that produced those stats? 0 shots. Like, I mean,
it's against Volos, man.
It's against Volos, but like you can't. Can you change the team that much after that? Like, I don't know, man. Like, they played so well. It doesn't. Yes, Volos, shit, whatever, blah blah blah, different level. But
do you play? The question is Chiquinho. Do you play Chiquinho in that role?
Oof, that's a good question.
I honestly, like, people have been kind of hyping him the last couple of games. I think he needs to, and this isn't a dig, but like, I think he can sit on the bench a bit. I would personally go for that midfield. Like, okay, this is my lineup for Thursday: Jolagis in goal, Ortega, Pirola, Retsos, Costinha, Musakitis, Dani, Willian, Gelson, Kostula, Selkabi. That's my lineup.
I think it's a mistake to drop Chiquinho in the games that he's best prepared to contribute to. That's my opinion. Like,
who do you drop from my team?
It's really difficult. I probably would drop Willian just because.
And you
I
play
think
Gelson out on the left. But that's the big question, isn't it?
I think the manager is going to have to decide, like, how much does he trust Willian? Like, these were 2 Greek games. Yeah. Like, is he ready to start Willian and like trust him? And this is like a make or break European game. Like, if we win on Thursday, like, we have a real shot to go for the top 8. If we draw or don't get anything better than that, we're going to get top 24, but it's going to be a bit of a fight. So.
Marshall, thoughts on the lineup for Thursday?
No, I agree with both of you. I would say out of the production of everyone involved, I would drop Willian because he hasn't been delivering that much in Europe yet. And given the fact that we need to win, I would put Gelson if fit, and Chiquinho too, because it's the kind of game he probably likes to play, like everyone else. But I don't know, man. Weeks ago, we were debating if Masuras, like, if you remember the lineup we had in Lyon, like, it's hilarious how things can change in a season
so quickly. That's what I'm talking about, the depth of the team. And like, we're not even talking about Velde. We're not even talking about Sergio Oliveira. We're not even talking about Stamenic, who have like played pretty decently so far. It's Biancone as well has been a revelation in the defense as well. Not even discussing it. It's actually pretty incredible that, we're at this place now where a lot of good players are just like, it's a fact. Like, they're not playing in the European game. Like, Biancone has played very well recently. Yeah. Carmo, fantastic defender. It's not like last season, like, Carmo could like walk. We would be like, get back in the fucking team right now. Like, do not leave. You know what I mean? It's just, it's incredible the level of depth we have this season and confidence we have in other players. So we'll see. I think the manager, obviously this has to do, is he going to scout Twente? Like, are they going to scout him and figure it out? Maybe there's some formation, some personnel that he likes better than others. And so I see this comment from Sun G here, who says that Sergio's a super tourist. Am I like the only person who think he's not bad? I think everyone on Instagram thinks he's shit. A lot of the fan base thinks he's bad, but like, I don't think he's bad. So comment section, am I wrong? Is Sergio Oliveira a bad player?
I mean, he hasn't exactly lit it up since he joined, man.
But I also don't know how a deep line playmaker is supposed to like light it up. What do people want him to do? Like,
it's what we talked about earlier though as well. I don't know if Sanji was here since the beginning, but it's like, okay, what are you? Yeah,
here we go. Exactly.
There it is. Yeah. Like, you're comparing him to, when you're comparing to Orta, nothing to do.
Because they're not similar players, man. Like, they're like,
that's a communication issue. That's a communication issue. It's just like when the press is, Orta's not coming. A week later, deadline day, we're getting Oliveira, and it's like, that's underwhelming. But anyway, we'll see.
I don't know, Martial. You've like, I feel like you've known the player for a while. Like, what do you think about Sergio Oliveira? Like,
before, like, because I think I just to make sure I've made this clear. When I talk to friends in Turkey about him, the one commonality that came across was that he was a leech. That's literally how Galatasaray fans described him to me. And yeah, I have to admit, like, that didn't come across great. So when fans are calling you a leech, and that's a little bit my worry with him, is that, okay, his best playing days are over, man. Let's be real. Like, he was fantastic at Balk the year they won the league. He went back to Porto, and for a couple of years he was starting 11 at Porto, and then he buggered off for the money. It's like, career's done. That's my worry with him. So I don't know if he can reproduce that kind of those performances that he gave in that kind of 3-year stint where he was really like top quality European central midfield player. That's my concern with him.
The thing about Oliveira is he needs to play the Musakitis position right now. Like, that is the role that, like, deep line playmaker, not the ball winning midfielder, but like that sort of role. And for some stupid reason, the fan base has in their eyes that like he's supposed to be a creative, further forward midfielder, and it's just like completely set him up to fail. But when he's back there, when he's playing deep, he has great touch. Like, he has a great touch. He can. I've not seen, like, if you've seen him like on the left, you know how Musakitis plays on the left. He gets the ball on the right. He kind of swings it over, can switch the ball. The free kick, was it his free kick that slammed into the post too? Like, the free kicks, like, we've been watching Fortuni's sky free kicks for like 4 or 5, like, decade, like the past decade of my life. I've watched Fortuni's kill birds, and like Sergio Oliveira is finally showing people how to hit a free kick properly. And
question for you,
like,
who do you take out of the team to give him the stretch of games that he needs to be good? Who do you take out right now?
I don't think you take it. I think Musakitis can hit the. He's 17 years old, man. Like, we've seen this with Agibu. We've seen this with other young players. Like, I think that Musakitis is gonna hit a point in the season. It's not you keep playing him. He's in good form. But Musakitis is gonna hit a point where he's a 17-year-old kid in a child's body, and he's gonna need a break. And I think Oliveira can drive things forward. That's my opinion. I don't know. Martial, like,
No, I agree with you. I personally, I appreciate Sergio Oliveira because he's a classy player. The issue is that I don't really see which role he could have in the team. I think he was more of a unneeded signing than a bad player, because we already had a lot of players in the midfield with Garcia, Stamenic, and Toy, and Musakitis. Bakulas too. But I really appreciate Oliveira, but you can't sign someone that wasn't playing for Galatasaray and expect him to be good if you don't put him as a starter. It was over since the beginning anyway.
Yeah.
It's similar situation to Yaremchuk, and it comes back what I've said earlier. We can't sign players like that for rotation. It's not the purpose of Sergio Oliveira to be a backup at Olympiacos. We are not Real Madrid.
I think Musakitis, I think the club, if Musakitis did not launch the way he did, I think Oliveira would have gotten more time to kind of figure out his role. Like, I also think if Musakitis would, like, if the manager had played Musakitis like in the Chiquinho role, I think he would have really struggled. I just think I don't know.
No, but it's a matter of logic. It's a matter of logic because I think we've signed Oliveira because of, I don't know, panic. It reminds me of Kasami signing last season. The guy came late. It took him weeks to be ready. Had like 2-3 good games at the end, and he went back to Italy. And he has been playing quite okay for Sampdoria. It wasn't needed from start to scratch. And I appreciate Oliveira because he always was a classy player. He's still a classy player, good ability to shoot, good free kick ability. But it wasn't needed at that point. And surely he's going to be the first one to leave, because I don't know. It pains me because I truly believe that it could have been a good player if he came before, because he's 3 times better than Koundé, than the finished version of Bouchalakis, of any other midfielder we've seen at the club recently.
Yeah.
But the team is quite big, and maybe if Stamenic did not came before, it would have been needed to play at at that position.
Yeah.
But it's up to the club to realize that if you get a player that is not playing elsewhere, it's because you think it's going to be a starter for you. Villa, for example, was a success because he was not really playing that much with Saint-Etienne, and he came back. He came here to be a starter. That's the only way we're going to make a former sub to be a good player for Olympiacos.
I just think it's I don't know. When you watch Sergio Oliveira play, there's just so much talent at his feet. Like
There's
I
no
will never
question.
say he's a bad player.
Like
The-
we have
the
seen
quality
so
is-
many shit midfielders like at this club in the past few years. And like Martial was saying, and thinking back to the end of the Martins era, like Oliveira would be the best midfield in the team like a few years ago. And and it's a shame like if he's gonna get run out of town. It has to be said, like, yeah, Mouzakitis is like a fucking wonder kid. He's 17 years old and playing like this, but it's like we discussed. Like, I think Oliveira, if he sticks around, he doesn't have an attitude issue, etc., etc. He could be extremely useful in Europe. He's a player who's played knockout football. He's a player who's played for the Portuguese national team before. I think it'd be a mistake to kind of throw him away as well. But it's like Martial said, like there's not enough. That we have a lot of midfield players who can play like where Garcia and Mouzakitis play. Like we have Stamenic, we have Heze, we have Oliveira, and there's just like not enough games, it feels like, for all of them to get in and play. So it's a bit of a like Doi. Like we want Doi to play the six. Like who's Doi going to play over? You know,
why
it's just
we would need players to leave in January anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, if we sign a striker, surely it means Yaremchuk is out. But when you see this team, do you really want player leaving? No. It's starting to work.
Yeah.
Oliveira probably has like 90% of chances to be a failure by the summer. Okay. But I don't. Every time we decided to cut a player too early, we paid for it. We pay for it. We cut Zinkernagel for fucking Josh Bowler. We cut so many players for nothing. If Oliveira is shit, he's gonna be on the bench. He's gonna play 20 minutes until July, and that's it. We paid for him already. The wage has been paid, will be paid. The signing fee has been paid. Stick with it.
Yeah.
Stick with it. That's it.
And we saw it last year. Like we had a lot of shit players come January, like shit players, and then they turned out to be super important by May, by the cup run. And I think it would be a shame to get rid of Oliveira. I just don't think he's been. I don't think he's been awful either. I just don't think. But anyway, we're past an hour and a half now. We can debate this all night. So
Yazici will hopefully be a good transfer for next season.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll see. I'm honestly, the team is playing well. Great 3-0 win. Again, I think it's been a great, I think we have a great squad. We have a lot of depth. We have a lot of interesting solutions. And I'm looking forward to, finishing out this period, these last 2 weeks before Christmas. That's like my point of view. And I think the club's well positioned to do so.
Cool. Guys, we're going to wrap it up there. Thanks very much for joining wherever you are in the world. Don't forget to like and subscribe before you go. Hit that like button. Costs you nothing, means everything to us. Helps us to find more Olympiacos fans around the world. Community is growing. We have over 5,500 subscribers now on YouTube. Continues to grow. IG's getting bigger, close to 12,000 followers there. The growth over social media is awesome. If you're on TikTok as well, we're on there. Nice little reels going up on socials recently. Obviously, we'll be back before the Thursday game as well. We'll have some preview for you going into the Twente game. We're going to be talking to some Dutch guys that know the Twente team, so we'll be giving you Twente on a plate. And of course, we'll be back for post-match after the Twente game as well. So make sure you've subscribed and make sure you've hit the bell, and you'll be notified whenever we go live or whenever there's a new video, a new reel. So yeah, thanks very much for watching. We are Volos International. By the fans, for the fans. We'll see you again next time.